Hakreniel V'dalevavi V'chaneniel V'dasarapai Hakreniel V'dalevavi V'chaneniel V'dasarapai Ureim derech otzevi Uncheini b'derech olam Ureim derech otzevi Uncheini b'derech olam You search me and try me and know all my ways, and you made me and formed for me all of my days. The night is not hidden from your sight. You see even the darkness as bright. You search me and try me and know my way and lead me in your everlasting way. Hakreniel v'dalevavi Chaneniel v'dasarapai Hakreniel v'dalevavi Chaneniel v'dasarapai Oreim derech otzevi Uncheini b'derech olam Ureim derech Uncheini b'derech olam Oh, you search me and try me and know all my ways, and you made me and formed for me all of my days. And the night is not hidden from your sight. You see even the darkness as bright. You search me and know me and know my way. Lead me in your everlasting way, and you lead me in your everlasting way. The holy mountain is his foundation. You love the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob, O city of Elohim. Again, the holy mountain is his foundation. You love the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob, O city of Elohim. Of Zion, it will be said, this one was born in her. Elyon Most High will establish her. This one was born there. They sing and dance there. My springs of joy are in you. Oh, have Adonai Sha'arei Tzion. You love the gates of Zion. Oh, all of my joy, all of my joy, all of my joy is in you. Oh, all of my joy, all of my joy, all of my joy is in you. The holy mountain is his foundation. You love the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob, O city of Elohim. Of Zion, it will be said, this one was born in her. Elyon, Most High, will establish her. This one was born there. They sing and dance there. My springs of joy are in you. Oh, have Adonai Sha'arei Tzion. You love the gates of Zion. All of my joy, all of my joy, all of my joy is in you. Oh, all of my joy, all of my joy, all of my joy is in you. The holy mountain is his foundation. You love the gates of Zion, yes you do. Oh, more than all the dwellings of Jacob, O city of Elohim. Oh, the holy mountain is his foundation. You love the gates of Zion. Oh, more than all the dwellings of Jacob, O city of Elohim. Oh, Zion, it will be said, this one was born in her. Elyon Most High will establish her. Oh, this one was born there. They sing and dance there. All my springs of joy are in you. Oh, have Adonai Sha'arei Tzion. You love the gates of Zion. Oh, all of my joy. Oh, all of my joy. All of my joy is in you. Oh, all of my joy. All of my joy. All of my joy is in you. Thank you, Lord, for sharing a little bit of you, a little bit of your ways, a little bit of your place, where everything, every single thing that you give comes from Zion, Jerusalem, your ways, your place, all the things that you established and raised up. Thank you, Abba, for sharing a little bit of that with us. And I ask that you'd share a little bit more this morning with us in the name of Yeshua. Amen. You may be seated. So before we start the teaching, first I want to say You can make comments online, you can share the videos, like the videos, heart the videos. That's like, isn't it? Is it like a thumbs up or a heart? Thumbs up, okay. Heart the videos. I don't know what that does, but it'd be nice to get a heart on the video, I guess. Share them and make sure, listen, if you want the notes that I go over every week, just send me your email, ask for the notes, I'll send you the notes every week. If you're subscribed to the channel and you see the teachings but you want the notes, you can get them. Also make comments in the notes. I get to them as soon as I can. Just make sure that you don't put anything inappropriate or ugly or worse than anything, lashon hara, evil speech about somebody else. If you do lashon hara, I'm just going to delete the statement immediately. Other than that, you can say pretty much anything you want. My wife has a book, this band that's covering it, it says not for resale. This is not going to be on the final book. This is a proof. And my wife wrote this book called Mommy's Fables and a Kiss Goodnight. It's stories that she used to tell our kids at night. We would just spontaneously come up with all kinds of stories every night to tell the kids. I had my set, she had her set, and she turned some of hers into a book. And it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful book. And you want me to open it? Okay. So it is richly illustrated. Richly illustrated. I'll do this one. So they're Jewish stories, and they're based in Judaism. They have a little moral at the end. It's a kid's book, children's book. All right. Now, on to the teaching. So this teaching is from the Torah portion. This is read every single day. Every single day. Every morning in the morning prayers. This is in the Siddur. It's called the Akedah, which means the binding of Isaac. The binding. And this is faith. Like, if you want to point to anything in the Bible that is faith, this is it. Now, faith, we're going to talk a lot about faith, but here's the problem. The problem is that in the normative, Bible-believing world, there's a departure from what faith is in Judaism. Faith is not religion. It's not a belief. It is not a belief. It is a set of beliefs, plural, but it doesn't mean, I hope. And it's not feelings, thank you. It is not feelings. It is fact. Now, our facts are different from the world's facts. And could I please get everybody out here, please? In Judaism, fact is different from fact in the Gentile world. What we say is fact is this. It's so simple. It's the simplest thing in the universe. Look at me. I want you to finish the sentence. 2, 4, 6, 8.
10.
How do you know?
Because it follows the sequence.
Right. It follows the pattern. That's faith. Faith is you're given something that you can follow, and you look at it and go, okay, I believe that.
I understand it.
And I understand it, and now I know what's coming next. It's that simple. That's what faith is. 2, 4. So if you ever hear the word faith, just think that. 2, 4, 6, 8, you know what comes next. It's that simple. Now, why does it have to be like that? Because we don't see God. He's invisible. And we can't hear him, usually. He's inaudible. He does not make himself manifest in this world. He hides himself on purpose. Why does he hide himself? Anybody remember? I taught this about a month and a half ago, or 2 months ago. Why does he hide himself? Right, so we can chase after him and find him. Okay. Now, faith that Abraham had, this Akedah was the proof of his faith. It also gave him faith. Faith means understanding. What that means is he saw the pattern, 2, 4, 6, 8, and he could see into the future what was going to be. That's what faith is. It's not believing God for whatever, fill in the blank. That's nonsense. We don't believe God for. That's never a biblical phrase, ever. We believe God, period. We believe him. We believe him, we understand him. That's what it is in Judaism. Now, because of that divergence in what faith is, this story only makes sense only if you know and you can make a determination between two opposing things. If you can figure out, okay, how can those both be true at the same time, then you can understand faith. If you can't understand that this thing going this way and this thing going this way, totally opposite, are both true at the same time, you can never understand faith. You clear so far? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah? Does it make sense so far? Okay. So I'm going to try to build for you the problem in the equation. The equation is a problem, like a math problem. You have one thing going this way, one thing going that way. I don't know what that's called in math, but there's a word for it. So here's the problem. The problem is we pray every morning. V'hi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu. And may be your will, Lord my God and God of my fathers, that you keep me from, can you finish it? That you keep me from sin, you can't finish it, iniquity, transgression, trial, nisayon. Now some Siddurim translate it temptation. It's just an old word, an old world word for trial. It doesn't mean temptation like we think of today. Lord, may be your will that you keep me, that you not lead me into sin, iniquity, transgression, trial, nisayon, and scorn. All right, every day we pray this. God, don't lead me into trial. Yes? And then there's 1,000 scriptures that say God tries us. These are complete opposites, aren't they? God, please don't lead me into a trial. I'm going to lead you into a trial. Now, if you can understand that both are true at the same time, then you can understand faith. You can understand this story. If you can't understand those two things being, those opposites being true at the same time, there's no way to understand this story.
Well, is one a trial from man?
Nope. God, don't lead us into trial. Don't try me. God, you're talking to God. It's not talking about people. God, don't try me. I'm going to try you.
Ooh, what I can do.
Right. Now, here's the further problem with this. There's many problems that feed into this that cause us to not be able to understand what faith is and how we're supposed to walk with God. I'm going to say this again. How we're supposed to walk with God. Because there's a way we're supposed to walk with God. I don't see it in 98% of people. But there is a way we're supposed to walk with God. Not that I do. I mean, I'm trying to get there, but I don't. But nobody around me does either. So, but I do have a pattern that shows me how it's supposed to be. Guess where that pattern is? Be more. You can't say just Judaism because, like, what? Reform Judaism? Torah. You can't say that because whose Torah? Whose way to live out Torah? Whose way? Who's my template to tell me how to do it? What do you think? How about the Hasidic Jews? You can't say Yeshua. He ain't here. He's not here showing us how to do it, is he? You can read the words, but the words have all been jacked up in the translation. Yeah, but do we have the Hebrew New Testament?
No.
First problem. Do we have anybody who can translate the New Testament from Hebrew perfectly? No. Second problem. We got 2,000 years, third huge problem, of Gentile influence on those words. So how are you going to tell me how Yeshua did this?
Well, and most of how he lived isn't recorded anyway.
That's correct. Most of how he lived is not recorded anyway. A fourth problem, thank you. So I'm going to say it again. Think about having a template of how to do this. The only people that I know of are some, not all, some Hasidic Jews. Does that make sense so far? That's a huge, huge dilemma. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, are you telling me I got to do all of Judaism? Duh. Of course. Of course. Where does it say in the scriptures you can't? That we can't. Where does it say in the scriptures it's too hard? It says just the opposite. My Torah is near you, even in your mouth, it's easy. That's in Deuteronomy. And there's other verses that say pretty much the same thing. Read the entirety of Psalm 119, 150 gazillion verses. All right. Now, there's our dilemma. There's our dilemma. I'm going to say it again. God, keep me from trial. I'm going to try you. Now I'm going to make it worse. The verse that I'm going to lean on today was said by a Gentile, not a Jew. And it's this. He tries me every moment. He tries me every moment. Now, you who are not Jewish, you don't know what this means. Eileen and I were talking about it. You really, truly cannot know what this means. Jews grow up just like, is there any escape from this guy? I don't believe in you. Why don't you leave me alone? I don't believe in you. Why don't you leave me? Like how can you say to something you don't believe, leave me alone? Obviously, Jews believe in God, down to the bone. And yet, there's no escape for the Jew. And every day we live this. God, leave me alone already. Why are you on me? All day, every word out of my mouth, every action I take, you're right there on top of me. Leave me alone already. Now, Christians they don't live like this. And you know it. You know this is true. Eileen, her family is Jewish, converted en masse in the 1500s to Catholicism, doesn't mean they're not Jewish. It's still in the blood. She wasn't raised like this. She was raised Catholic and then, quote, Christian, born again Christian. So she doesn't know anything. She was not raised with this sense of, oh God, does he ever let up? We've talked about this many times. Carlos, my good friend Carlos, every time about a year and a half ago, every Shabbat, it was, why won't he leave me alone? When is it going to stop? And I would say, what? You're a Jew. It ain't going to stop.
He loves you.
You're a Jew. I didn't say he loves you. I would say, you're a Jew. And that's the truth. Now, because of this, I'm going to have Eileen come up and share something she saw and wrote to hopefully make it, listen to what I'm saying, to make it understandable to Gentiles.
Give her the mic.
Over here.
Over there?
Your lapel mic.
No,
Oh, this one,
it's
he
using
said.
this. So, I'm going to say this again. Got a little muddy there. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm having her share this so that it can hopefully make sense to Gentiles. And you can do that if you want. So it'll make sense to Gentiles.
Okay. Well, I hope I'm clear. But right as Michael said this morning about, God never lets up. And the Gentiles don't have the same feelings about how God never lets up, because it's been a totally different lifestyle, totally different calling. So when he said that, I immediately saw the lion sitting alone. Jews are like the lion. And the reason I'm saying that is because God has ordained the Jews to be the teachers, to be the ones that take the Torah to the people. But the people are afraid. The people are afraid. The people will hunt the lion, okay? The persecution. It doesn't matter what. I heard a comedian the other day say, he says, you know things are really bad in a group of people when they start blaming the Jews, because it'll eventually come. And this is what Jews are accustomed to, and no other people have that same thing. No one. And so the Jews are always in fear of persecution, just like a lion is always knowing they're going to be hunted, okay? And people fear the Jews and Judaism. So in that sense, they're like that lion that has that constant fear. People fear what they don't know, what they don't understand. So therefore, the one that is different in the scriptures, the Jew is different from everybody else, even though it's a story about Jews. What happens? They are definitely being attacked constantly. So they fear the authority, the strength, the respect, the leadership to go out into a dry, barren world to bring the Torah, to bring the water, to bring that food to drink. The Messiah was called the Lion of Judah, which was so appropriate because you stop and look, he's the Lion of Judah. So he's got all this pride, this people. And that's exactly how Jews are, that they move in a community. You go anywhere and you will find a Jewish community, another Jewish community, maybe more than one, but everybody knows each other. I'll never forget going to synagogue, and this man I'd never met comes up to me and we're talking. He knew everything about me. I'm like, how do you know all this about me? And he says, we're a small community. So it's like, okay, but that's life. That is how Jews are, that we're always in a community, just like a lion moves around in a pride. And only through that unity, only through that togetherness of a community can there be the proper strength and the proper ability to go out with the Torah. Okay, is that good enough? Yes? Okay. I hope I said it all, babe. Got it, thanks. Oh, Mike.
All right, so that's coming from perspective of somebody who was raised Gentile. It's a different world. Now, why am I saying all this? Was Abraham a Jew or a Gentile?
Gentile.
He was a Gentile, but he was the first Jew. So no matter what you say, you're okay.
He was a Gentile who acted as a Jew.
Right. And that's number one. Number two, in Ephesians chapter 2, it says that through the death of Yeshua, who was brought into what?
Gentiles were brought into Judaism.
Thank you. Gentiles were brought into a Jewish world.
Jewish culture.
A Jewish world. All right. If that's true, you better figure out what the rules of the game are. And I'm the self-appointed definer of the rules, I guess. I mean, I'm just doing the best I can to help people understand the rules of the game. That's all I do. Help people understand the rules of the game. The rules of the game is if you're a Gentile and you're born again, you have come into a Jewish world. And the way the Jews are is, he never, ever lets up on me. So that's a relationship. I know he's there all the time. That's a relationship. All right, let's look at the passage. It came about after these things that God tested Abraham. Now, the rabbis say that he went through 10 tests, and this is the last one. And said to him, Avraham, and he said, Hineni. Then he said, take now your son, your only son. That's a lie. It's not his only son. He had Ishmael, didn't he? Okay. By the way, I made a mistake last week, and Doug corrected me. I said that by Genesis chapter 15, he had Ishmael. He did not have Ishmael. It's chapter 16. So thanks you for that correction. Now take your son, your only son, so not true, whom you love, Isaac, all right, and go inside you to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as an olah on one of the mountains of which I'll tell you. So Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, took 2 of his young men with him and his son Isaac. And he split wood for the olah, and he set out, and he went to Hamakom, the place. Where's Hamakom? The Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Hamakom is the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, of which God had told him. On the 3rd day, Abraham raised his eyes and saw Hamakom from a distance. That doesn't mean like, oh, it's way over there, over yonder. It means 2,000 years later. From the year 2000, when he did the Akedah, to the year 4000 when Yeshua died. And then another 2,000 years to the day of the Lord. He saw all of it. All of it. That's what the rabbis say when it says he lifted up his eyes and saw Hamakom from a distance. It's not distance in space, it's distance in time. Then Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey, and I and the boy will go over there, and we will worship, and we will return to you. So therefore, he knows he's going to offer him and kill him. He knows he's going to kill his son. And he says, don't worry, we're going to come back. I and the boy will go over there, and we will worship and return to you. We will return. Don't worry, Isaac's coming back. Aren't you going to kill him? Yep. So what does that mean? He saw the resurrection. He knew he was going to be resurrected, one way or the other. Isaac spoke, Avi, and he said, Hineni, B'nai, here I am, my son. And he said, look, the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for the olah? And Abraham said, he doesn't say you're it. He says, God will see, Yireh, to him, the lamb for the olah, my son. That's what his answer is. God will see to him the lamb. What does that mean?
He's taking care of it. He's going to provide the lamb.
It means he is the lamb. God will see to him the lamb. In other words, that's all right. God himself is the lamb. That's what it means. God himself is the lamb. So the 2 of them walked on together. Then they came to Hamakom, of which God had told him. Abraham reached out with his hand, took the knife to slaughter his son, but the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, don't reach out your hand against the boy, and don't do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God. Is he a Jew or a Gentile? Now, in the New Testament, this is what the Gentile believers are called. They're called 2 things. They're called haderech, but that's when they're with the Jews. They're called haderech, the way, but when they're by themselves, like the Gentiles in the synagogue, the Gentiles sat in back. Those seats in the back, you know who they were for? The God-fearers. In Greek, it's sebamoi. That's what it says in the New Testament, sebamoi, it's Greek. But in Hebrew, it's yirat Adonai, God-fearers. He's a Gentile. And God is saying, now I know you're a Gentile who does Judaism. You're a God-fearer. And so all Gentiles after him who have faith in God, they go 2, 4, 6, 8. I know what's coming next. They're called God-fearers. Does that make sense? This is a big point. It's a very important point. They're not Christians. They're God-fearers.
Sometimes today they're called righteous Gentiles.
Sometimes they're called righteous Gentiles, but that came much later.
Yeah.
Much, much later in history. In the first century, they were called Sebamoi, or God-fearers. So he says, you have not withheld your son. Again, he says, your only son from me. Then Abraham raised his eyes again into the future and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as an olah in the place of his son. And Abraham named that place Yehovah Yireh. Now he says, God will see himself. Yireh. Right? Where is that? Right there in the middle. Okay. God will see. This is the word Yireh. Yes? To see. And then he names the place Yireh. Yehovah or Adonai Yireh.
Right.
Why? Because it's the same concept. God will see. God will be seen. The Lord will see. As it is said to this day, on the mountain of the Lord, that's where you're going to see it. Okay, a lot of seeing going on here, right? What's the name of the Torah portion? Va'yerah, which means, and he saw.
Can you be used? I know.
I'm sorry, what?
Can you will also be used as in like a manifestation?
Yes, manifestation means something that you can see, something that comes up that you can see. Sure. Mm-hmm. Appear means manifest. Something that appears, something that is manifest. Sure. That's Yireh. Remember these three. I don't know why I didn't catch the Hebrew. Remember these three passages that we've looked at 3 weeks in a row now. Genesis 12, Lech Lecha, al haaretz arecha. Go to you to the land I will show you. Go to you to the land that I will show you. And then Genesis 22, the one we just read. Lech Lecha el eretz haMoriah. Go to you to the land of Moriah. Therefore, where is the land of Moriah?
The land I will show you.
Where? Where is it? Read the words. Go to you to the land of Moriah. Where is the land of Moriah? It's in Abraham. This is the kingdom. Again, this is the kingdom. Numbers 22:2. Shalach lecha anashim v'yaturu et eretz. Send to you men to tour the land. This is the kingdom. This is the kingdom. This is the kingdom. Go to the kingdom. All right.
Can you go back? That send to you, the very last one, Numbers, send to you men to tour the land. We know what happened in that part of the story, but then at the same time, it's within him. So it's like
Yes,
him
that's what I
praying
taught
for
several weeks ago, or months ago now, when we were in Numbers, that the kingdom was inside. And so he says, send men to that place inside.
So what I was going to say is, though he's praying for those men, in the future, he's praying for those men to go up into the land.
Well, he's not just praying for those men, he's praying for all of Israel, for all the generations to come to enter what? The kingdom. Yeah. Okay. V'lech lecha el eretz haMoriah. So here's what we're looking at. Take now your son, your only son, whom you love, Yitzchak, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as an olah. Now, why is it called the land of Moriah? Guess what? It's the same word as Adonai Yireh and God will see. Yireh. It's the same thing. It comes from Ra'ah, not Ra'ah bad, it's a different word. Ra'ah, which is to see. And Yah, Sin Baya. Moriah.
So it has something to do with like Mara? Like
No, a different word from Mara. The ma means from. Here's your word, Riyah, which comes from Ra'ah. Ma means from. So it's like from seen by Yah. I mean, it doesn't translate well in English, but that's what it means. Now, Temple Mount was called Adonai Yireh, not Jehovah Jireh. That's bad Hebrew in like 4 different ways. That's 4 times bad. Jehovah Jireh, my provider. I mean, that has destroyed the ability of so many people to see the Akedah for what it is. But Yehovah, and I went through a whole teaching a couple years ago of why we know it's Yehovah, and it's proven that that's how this is pronounced, Yehovah, Yireh. From Ra'ah, Yah sees. So there it is again. Abraham called it Adonai Yireh, Yah sees. God called it Moriah, the land of seen by Yah. 22:14. As it is said to this day, on God's mountain, Mount Moriah, he can be. This is how Orthodox Jews translate it. Think about what that's saying. Who can be seen?
God.
And Yeshua. I mean, this is amazing. It's from the Complete Jewish Bible with Rashi by Kahot Publishers. This is the one that the Hasidic Jews use, the Kahot Publishers. As it is said to this day, on God's mountain, Mount Moriah, he can be seen. I think that is amazing. It's just amazing. And there's the Temple Mount with the temple on it. Okay. Now, it says, after these things, God tested Avraham. Here's the 10 tests according to Maimonides. God tells him to leave his homeland, be a stranger. Immediately after his arrival in the Promised Land, he encounters a famine. The Egyptians grab his beloved wife Sarah and bring her to Pharaoh. Abraham faces incredible odds in the battle of the 4 and 5 kings. How many people did he slaughter? 1 million people in the battle with the 4 and the 5 kings. A 1 million-man army. How many people did he have with him?
300.
Close. 318. Okay? It's amazing. Amazing. Then he marries Hagar after not being able to have children with Sarah. Then God tells him to circumcise himself. That is a trial. How old was he when God told him to circumcise himself? 90. Was he 90 or 99? He was 99. That's when God said, I'm promising you a son. Remember? Yes.
So the circumcision that takes place is after Hagar's already had Ishmael.
Yes.
But Isaac isn't born yet.
Right. Yeah, Hagar is around.
Yeah.
Ishmael's born. He's 13 years old, and he's about to have to kick his son out. But then God says, don't worry, you're going to have a child, circumcise yourself.
So to me what I was going to say was it's amazing because Ishmael doesn't come from the circumcision. It's real obvious.
That's the whole point, that Ishmael doesn't come from the circumcised seed. Only Isaac comes from the circumcised seed. That's why he says, your only son. All right? Then his son Ishmael becomes kicked out. Horrible trial. And then God tells him to kill his only son. What he's saying, do you know what he's saying by kill your son? He's saying give up on every single thing I've promised you. There's going to be no Jewish people. There's going to be no seed. There's going to be no, seed like the stars of heaven and like the sand of the sea. It's done. No kingdom, nothing. And he says, okay, I'll do it. In fact, it says he got up early in the morning, didn't it? And he arose early in the morning.
Yeah.
He didn't put it off. He jumped up and said, okay, I'll put to death absolutely everything. Why? 2, 4, 6, 8. I know what's coming. It's that simple. And well, here's what God said. Vaha Elohim nisa et Avraham. And God tested Nisa, Avraham, Nisa. Now you might know this word from his banner over me is love. That's the same word, Nisa.
Jehovah Nisi.
Jehovah Nisi, right. God is my banner. The same word, banner, means something lifted up. Why? Why is it lifted up? Why do you lift something up? To be seen. So it's the word for a flagpole. It's the same word for a flag itself. It's a word for a miracle. Why a miracle? Because it's God lifting something up so it can be seen. It's a nisa. Now, here's our word, nisayon. God, don't lead me into nisayon, into test. V'hi ratzon milfanecha, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu. Va'al tevi lo lidei chet, ve'lo lidei avera, va'avon, ve'lo lidei nisayon, ve'lo lidei vizayon. Let's say this together. Do not bring us into sin or into transgression or iniquity or into testing or scorn. We pray this every morning. God, don't bring me into nisayon. And now I'm going to show you that God says over and over and over, I'm going to bring you into nisayon. I'm going to bring you into nisayon. God, please don't bring me into a test. I'm going to bring you into a test. Are you with me so far? This is a problem. Maybe it's not a problem for you. Maybe you're like, okay, that's cool. I'm not like that. I don't think it's cool at all until I can understand why. But we're tested. So we're going to look at when we're tested and how we're tested. Now here's a statement. I was thinking about this, and I was in education for 17 years. And it's obvious. Education is nothing but tests, isn't it? We get tested daily. Now, you might not have a written test or a verbal test, but the teacher walks by and says, how you doing? Not so good. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's fix the problem. Well, how are you going to fix the problem unless you know there's a problem, yeah? This is called an assessment. An assessment. Now, my whole growing up, my dad would say this phrase, and he'd say, what's the purpose of this exercise? He would only say that when we screwed something up, or when we didn't do what he was asking us to do, or my mom was asking us to do. Like he would say, I remember he used to say, let's police the yard. That's how he would say it, because he was in the military. Let's police the area. Yeah, that means clean it up. But he'd say, let's police the area. And all the four little boys would go scrambling around cleaning stuff up in the yard. And then he'd come out, and we'd go, Daddy, how's this? And he'd go, well, what's the purpose of this exercise? In other words, we didn't do it right. This is how life is. I mean, it's the same way in education. There's pre-tests, there's post-tests, there's daily assessments, there's weekly and monthly and yearly tests. There's even standardized tests by grade, by class. Every class is different. By individual. We must be tested. Why? To see if we've learned the stuff. And that's all life is. Did you learn? What is the purpose of this? You went through this whole thing. What are you going to do? Go through it again? Right. So I saw God, in hindsight, I saw God talking through my dad. What's the purpose of this exercise, sir? You're going to have to do it again.
Learn anything from that?
Right. Did you learn anything from that? Did you get the point or not? No. Okay, then do it again. It's that simple. Do you need help understanding it? I'll help you understand it. But a test is not given before the information's given, is it? No. Like the teacher goes up and says, blah, 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 right? And then you go, I don't get it. And then you're tested. Wah, 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 wah. Right, exactly. And then you go to the test and it's, wah, wah, wah. I don't understand a word. What's the purpose of this exercise? You didn't pay attention. You didn't get it. Okay, I didn't get it. So we're tested only after we're given the information. That's not what I see in life. Especially, please understand what I'm saying. I don't want to slam anybody. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate any group. I don't care. I really don't care about any of that mess. What I care about is God says stuff and everybody's ignoring it. That's what I care about. Christianity ignores what God has said. It's that simple. So you got a whole group of people who are saying that constantly test us on stuff we haven't been told. Now the reason I say this is this. What's the Christian life? I've never been able to have anybody tell me what that is in 45 years. What's the Christian life? What is it? Well, it turns into a ridiculous merry-go-round when you ask that question. Have you ever gotten a clear answer about that? Ever? I mean, be honest. A super simple question. You want me to live a Christian life? Now, this is a Jew talking. You want me, and I'm talking to Messianic Jews, and I'm talking to Christians, you want me to live a Christian life. What is that? You go to a Jew and you say, what's a Jewish life? Okay, here's what you do. Right. Do this, do this, do this, do this. Have fun. You need help? I'll help you. Have fun. Go do it. It's that simple. But everybody's got a different opinion of what the, quote, Christian life is. It's a merry-go-round. It doesn't get anywhere. Why? Because there's no information given, and they're saying, here, take the test, take the test, take the test. Take the test. Well, I don't know what it is. How can I take a test? God's going to test you. On what? Okay, in Judaism, it's simple. We tell you what the what is. Here's the what. Here's what you do. Here's what you believe. Here's what you think about. Here's what you change in your life. It's up to you if you do it. That's all. But you're going to be tested on it. But he's going to give you the information first. Listen to me. He'll always give you the information first. It's up to us if we listen or not. I'm going to give you an example. There's somebody I know who he doesn't recognize that God spoke to him, don't go in this direction. But I witnessed it with my own eyes and my own ears. 5 wise people say, don't go in that direction. And here's why. Here's why. Gave the information. And he's like, that's what God has told me to do. And everything falls apart. Then he comes back into the group he was in, and he's like sad. Why are you sad? Nothing's working out. Well, why did you go in that direction? That's what God told me to do. No, he didn't. He absolutely did not. 4 or 5 people very clearly said, don't do that, and here's why. Okay? Right. And the words of 2 or 3 witnesses, you can establish what's good. And I watched it and I heard it. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. He didn't listen. So, what would my dad say? What's the purpose of this exercise? So what's going to happen? He's going to end up repeating it again. There's no way around it. There's literally no way around it. It just has to be. It's like, it's happened with us many times, where Eileen didn't listen, I didn't listen, we both didn't listen. It's happened many, many, many times. This is life. It's no big deal. It's just a big deal while you're going through it. At that time. It's a big, big deal. But in hindsight, it's no big deal. It's just going to happen again. What's the purpose? I hope I drill this voice into you so you hear it. I want you to think this next time you're made to repeat the same thing over again.
I'm going to hear that so often.
Good. What's the purpose of this exercise? Now listen. Last week, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, I said, how are you going to know how to walk this new weird Jewish way that you know nothing about? What was the answer? Anybody remember?
Listen to the sages.
No, listen to your rabbi.
Oh, yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah. Everybody said, listen to the sages. And I was like, yeah, you can listen to the sages, but they ain't here. You've got a rabbi that you can ask. Yeah. So that's the answer. So it'll keep you from repeating the same mistake. It'll keep us from that. Yes.
I just saw something really cool. That every year, I mean, all our life, there's a cycle pertaining to reading the Torah portions, the half Torah portions. Why? Because every year we're growing because we haven't gotten the full picture of that Torah portion.
Let me get it on tape. So every year there's a cycle of the Torah readings. Well, why do we go over the same Torah reading over and over and over and over and over every year of our life? Because we're not getting the full picture at one time. You have to repeat this over and over and over again to get a fuller picture. And you'll get more and more understanding. Yeah.
The first part, and then you do it again, it's like, oh, now I see.
Now I see. That should happen every year. Now I get it.
That is the purpose.
Yes. Yes.
And to add to that, I think a few weeks ago you talked about how the scriptures are a different color.
The facets.
The facets. Yes, that there's 70 facets of Judaism. So, yeah, we have to repeat it over and over, reading. 70 facets. You're not going to get every facet on the first try, or second, or 30th. Right, and then you forget the first one, you got to repeat. Yeah. One of the people we went to a Reformed temple for about a dozen years, and one of the people in that temple, she had a piece of jewelry that was a spiral, but it was three-dimensional. It was a spiral that went up, like an upside-down tornado, or maybe it was like a regular tornado. I can't remember. Maybe it was like a regular tornado. It got small, and it got bigger and bigger. And and I said, God, that is really cool. What is that? That's Judaism. You go in the cycle, but it's not flat. It ascends. It ascends. So the purpose of these nisayon is hopefully not just to teach you something, but so you graduate that thing. And then it'll take you to another. And you move on after you get another chunk of information first, and then a test on it.
Kind of like Lot, that he had to move on, but his wife.
Okay, I don't want to go into Lot right now. Sorry. Okay. So, you need proof that God tests. Just simple. Exodus 15, talking about the Jews, and there at Marah, God, tested them. What's the word for tested? Nisa. All right, Exodus 16, the Lord said to Moshe, I'm going to give bread. I'm going to give manna. Why am I giving manna? To test them, not to bless them. Oh, daily bread. I've seen these back in the 70s and 80s, there were these little, quote, devotionals that I would see Christians with, and it said, our daily bread, right? The manna was a test. It was a nisayon. It was not a blessing. It was a test, which is a blessing, but I mean, get it right. It's a test. Look, I'm going to rain bread from heaven for you, and the people will go out and gather a day's portion every day. Why? So I can test them to see if they will walk in my Torah. That's all. Okay, it's a Nisan. Exodus 20, this is when God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai. Moshe said to the people, don't be afraid. God shows up. He scares the heck out of all of Israel. And they say to Moshe, you go talk for us. We don't want to have anything to do with that. It's terrifying. And he says, look, don't be afraid. God has come in order to test you. That's why he showed up like this. And in order that the fear of him may stay inside of you so you won't sin. So, how am I going to keep you from sinning? Nisa, testing. Make sense? All right, so far so good. Deuteronomy 8. This is the same thing as the manna. He says, I led you 40 years in the wilderness, your clothes never wore out, your foot didn't swell. That means like high blood pressure and heart problems and beriberi. When you eat the same thing every day, you can get beriberi. Your feet swell up. Interesting. And I took care of all your needs for 40 years. Why did I take care of you? To humble you, putting you to the test. That's why I did it. Not to bless you and keep you, oh, Israel's my beloved, I'm going to protect her. It has nothing to do with that. It's, I'm going to take care of you, put you in a petri dish, a controlled environment, and see what you do. Listen to what I'm saying. Are you going to follow the fake Jesus Christ? The God of Hellenism that took 300 years to develop into a God-man? Listen to what I'm saying. Or are you going to keep the Torah? I'm going to put you in a petri dish, a controlled environment, mess with it, put things where I want, and watch what you do. And if you don't do what you're supposed to do, what's going to happen? How about let's repeat the experiment? Let's go to a different petri dish.
It's like a good teacher, that if the student didn't learn one way, they go to a different, method to get the same.
Yeah, a good teacher will find many ways to get the same thing across. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. God did this to see if they would keep Torah. It's that simple. And then he says in Numbers, he says, I will send you prophets to tell you the wrong thing, to test you to see whether you will walk in my ways or if you will do idolatry. So, 100 quadrillion Christians who want nothing to do with Judaism and follow, quote, Jesus Christ. What do you think God's going to do? Let's set up another petri dish. COVID. That didn't work. Let's set up another petri dish. God only knows what's coming.
Right.
But it's going to be bad, worse than COVID. I guarantee it. Because he has to. So he can see whether or not his people will do the Torah, his ways. Yes?
Several teachings I've heard from another rabbi, I forget which one it was now, but he talks about tests and the idea that, well, obviously God already knows what you're going to do and what's in your heart, so why is he testing you? It's not for him to find out.
Exactly.
It's for us to see
Exactly.
what's in us.
That's exactly right. God already knows what our response is going to be. Like any good teacher. I know what that kid's going to do. I know. I know what they've learned. I know how lazy they are, how diligent they are, whatever. A good teacher knows their kids. They know how they're going to react. And so it's not for me, it's for the child. Right? Okay. Then they come into the land itself. And what does God do? Judges chapter 2, I in turn will no longer drive out from them any of the 10 nations. How many tests did God give Abraham? 10. Isn't that interesting? 10 nations were in Israel. It says that in Exodus, Deuteronomy, Numbers. Drive out from them any of the 10 nations which Joshua left after he died. Why? To test Israel by them, by these Gentile nations, whether they will keep the way of the Lord to walk in it as their fathers did or not. That's all. That's all. I guarantee you something worse is coming than COVID. I guarantee it. So the Lord allowed those 10 nations to remain, not driving them out as quickly, and he did not hand them over to Joshua. So everybody talks about like, oh, the horrors of this coming and that coming, and God is testing the Jews, and God is testing the world a little bit, but testing the Jews worse, and I'll talk about that. But why? Why? So he can see whether or not they'll do Judaism. It's that simple. And if they do Judaism, hey, good job, guys. But they're not. And when I say they, I mean the whole world. Judaism is not for the Jews. Did you think that it was? Judaism is for the whole world to know God. And he wants his people doing the Torah. So how's he going to get that to be accomplished? Spanking, like you said, spanking after spanking after spanking after spanking. But the information has to come first. Who's out there telling the church, do Judaism? Not many, but there's a couple. And that information is being given. And as it's being given, it will be tested. Do you hear what I'm saying to you on the video? That information is being given out to you. And as you get it, you're going to be tested on whether or not you will do it. 1 Chronicles 29, David prayed, who am I? This is when he's giving the 100 million tons of stuff to build the temple. Who am I and who are my people that we should be able to offer as generously as this? Lord our God, all this stuff was given so we can provide to build you a house for your name. It's from your hand, everything's yours, since I know, my God, that you put the heart to the test. Isn't that interesting? Even in our giving, that's a test. And you delight in uprightness. I, in the integrity of my heart, have willingly offered all this stuff. I've seen your people. I've seen your people make their offerings willingly to you. Now here the word changes. It's not nisa. It's a different word. And for the most of the rest of the Tanakh, it is this word, bechen. It means to search out, to examine, to try, to prove. You try, you put the heart to the test, bechen. Different word, pretty much the same concept. Would you agree it's the same concept? Okay. To search out, to examine, try, or prove. Chakreini el v'dalavavi b'chaneni el. That's this word. Bechen, b'chaneni. Search me. Try me. Prove me. Prove that I got it. When you get an A on the test, it's proven. Yeah? 2 Chronicles. Now, this is a long passage, but I'll tell you what it says. It's about Hezekiah. And Hezekiah got arrogant. He was a great king, but he got arrogant. He got prideful. And God said, I'm going to kill you. I'm giving you a disease that's going to kill you. And he goes and he begs God, please give me more time. And he says, okay, how do you want me to show you that you got more time? I'll do it. And he says, I don't know, give me some miracle. I'll tell you what, make the shadow go backwards on the altar, on the approach. There's no steps on the altar. It's an approach. It's a ramp. Make the shadow go backwards 10 pe'amot. Now they translate that as steps, but it's not steps. It's like physical steps. It's not like steps, ascending steps. There was no steps on the altar. It's steps. 1, 2, that's about 30 feet. Because a step is about 3 feet. Would you agree? Yeah. 10 of those is 30. I want the sun's shadow to go backwards 30 feet. That jacks up the calendar, doesn't it? Right? And he did it, and God did it. And he's like, oh my God, it's a miracle. And guess who was born in those 7 years that he added to, I think it's 7 years, that he added to his life? The worst king of all, right, Manasseh. Worst king that Judah ever had. That's who was conceive during that extra time God gave him. Now, he did this and he's like, oh, God is great. He did a miracle. And then the Babylonians or Assyrians, some passages say Assyria, this passage says Babylon, they sent these emissaries, like apostles, to the king, and he gave him this message. God did this amazing thing. Now that's what it's referring to. And it says, God gave him a sign, but Hezekiah did nothing in return for the benefit that he received. God did this amazing miracle. So what did Hezekiah do? Nothing. Nothing.
Okay,
Thanks, right? Okay, thanks. Right? Because his heart was proud. However, Hezekiah humbled the pride of his heart, both he and the inhabitants of Jerusalem later on, so that the wrath of the Lord didn't come in his days. It came later. The wrath came later. Now, later on in the passage, it says this: Hezekiah was successful in everything he did, even in the messengers or apostles of the rulers of Babylon who were sent to him to inquire about the wonder that had happened in the land. God left him alone. God left Hezekiah alone to test him, to see what he was going to do. I did this great miracle for you. What are you going to do with it? And what does it tell us he did? Nothing. Nothing. Why? Because his heart was what? Was proud. So that he might know everything that was in his heart. So God would know everything that was in Hezekiah's heart. Now we're back to the word Nisa. Was Job a Jew or a Gentile? He was not only a Gentile, right? He was an Edomite. He was from the people that God hates. Edom. The only guy in the whole Bible that God says he hates. Esav, Edom. The only guy. Job was an Edomite. He was from the land of Uz, which is in the land of Edom. He was an Edomite. He was as Gentile as they come. But he was a Jew, like Abraham. And he knew God. This is what Job said. And I don't even want to look at these words, because this is where I'm camping in my mind, in my heart. What is man that you raise him and that you're concerned about him? What is a human that God cares? Who cares? We're just people. Why would God care? Why would God care enough to examine him every morning, and put him to the test every moment? I'm going to say this again. It's what I started with. Gentiles don't know what this means. Job did, because he was Jewish like Abraham was Jewish. Okay? Gentiles don't know about this. Christians don't know about this. They don't. Messianic Jews and Gentiles don't know about this. Jews do. Now, if there's a Christian or a Messianic Jew or a Messianic Gentile who knows about this, it's because they're in the camp of Israel and they've got covenant and they've got relationship. But they have to be in the world, in the camp of Judaism to know this. Do you feel like you're put to the test by God every moment? A moment of pa'am is 90 seconds. Every 90 seconds. Do you ever think about this? Another 90 seconds has passed. God is testing me. Why are you testing me? We might do that every 2 weeks. Jews do it, feel it at least, every moment. Every moment of every day. And I'm going to say this, I said this to Eileen when I was saying it this morning. When I was saying it, was like, that's crazy. I don't believe in God. Get off my back, God. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in him. That's nonsense, God. That's a mythology. God, get off my back. This is how Jews live. This is how Jews live. When we were first going to temple, I sat down with the guy he was one of the military friends of my dad. Yeah, in World War II, he helped liberate the camps. He was a young man then. And he went into the camps, and at that moment, when he saw what happened to his people, he turned his back on God and said, I no longer believe there is a God. And there he was at temple every week, praying. And I said to him, why are you here if you don't believe in God? You're nuts. And he goes, he never leaves us alone. I saw what he did to us. I saw what he did to us at Auschwitz. I said, who did to us? God. I said, you don't believe in God, you said. And then he would not put those two things together, because in his mind, his life is set. I don't believe in God. Why don't you leave me alone? And this is how Jews live. Now, you might think that's nuts, but that's how Job lived. And that's how David lived. And that's how Abraham lived. He tests us every moment. You as Gentiles are being invited into a Jewish world. Here's the rules of the game. Right here. Right here in purple. What is man that you raise him? And that you're concerned about him, and that you examine him every morning and put him to the test every moment. God, what a blessing to know God.
Right.
But it comes with this. And so I want you to know that these are the rules of the game. Nobody's ever told you this, I don't think, that you come into a Jewish world to be tested like the rest of us. Has anybody ever told you that? You come into a Jewish world and you get to be tested by God? Anybody ever tell you that? Yes? No? Okay, I didn't think so. It's normal that would not happen. But this is the truth. If you really want to know God, if it's a big if you really want to know God, this is what he's inviting you into. This is where relationship comes from. God testing you every moment. Now, you may not be aware of it every moment. You might be aware of it once in a while. I'm not aware of it every moment. I'm aware of it right now in my life about 15 times a day. About 15 times a day. All right, look, here's what David said. Please let the evil of the wicked come to an end, but establish the righteous, and testing hearts, and it translates it minds, but it's not minds, it's kidneys. Who tests hearts and kidneys of righteous God. It's very hard to translate this, but this is what it says in Hebrew. And testing hearts and kidneys of righteous God. So some translates it, the righteous God tests the hearts and the minds. Some translate it, God tests the righteous, the hearts and the minds of the righteous. And we know what it is. It's God tests the hearts and the minds of the righteous. Yeah? Because we know God tests us. So, but it's not minds, it's kidneys. The seat of the emotion is the kidneys. It's not here, it's back here in the kidneys. It's in your back where all the stress sits. Now, sometimes it has a different word for heart, which is me'ah, which is this area where your emotions sit. But your emotions sit back here in your kidneys by your spine. That's why we get backache so often. That's you know that's stress here. You know it is. Well, that's what that is. So there's more than one place that's the heart. Kishkis is the me'ah. That's here. All right. Psalm 11, 4 through 5a. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes see. Now this is weird. His eyelids test the sons of man. What in the world does that mean? Of course, it's all, it's all metaphor. God doesn't have eyes or eyelids or anything like that. But metaphorically, what do the eyelids do? They don't protect the eyes. They close and they open. If God closes his eyes to us, he's testing us. Okay, I'm giving you a test. Take that test. I'll be over here. That's what that is. He's testing us. He closes his eyes to us. Things are bad. It's horrible. And then he opens and he looks. How'd you do, guys? How'd you do in my little petri dish? Does that make sense? Everybody thinks, it's to protect the eyes. No, we open and we close. In the morning we pray, blessed are you, Lord our God, everlasting King, who removes sleep from our eyes and slumber from our eyelids. Open and closed. Yes?
When it says his eyelids, so like when the eyelids close, isn't that like God testing the trust of...
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
He closes his eyes. He goes away. You guys do that, and I'm over here doing my own thing. I'm going to come back and see how you did. I mean, we who are teachers, we did that all the time, right?
Yeah.
All the time. Go do your thing. I already taught you. Now, take your test. I'm out. I'll come back.
And at the same time, it's a test of whatever that situation is, but it's a test when you close your eyes, you're not seeing God, but you know God's coming.
No. I don't want to go there. This is just a simple metaphor of God closing his eyes to test us. That's it. Let's just keep it there. Nice and simple. Listen to what I'm saying. He closes his eyes so he cannot see us. Not so we can't see something. So he can't see us. He's busy somewhere else. I've already given you the information. Now I'm giving you the test. Go do your thing. Okay? Psalm 17. Oh, I'm sorry. The end of Psalm 11. Look at this. The Lord tests the righteous and the wicked. Who does that mean that God tests? Everybody. There's no escape from it, so you might as well jump into the side that knows what's going on. Judaism, the Jewish world. The whole world freaked out during COVID. I mean, the whole world freaked out during COVID, but not the Jews who are Hasidic and who are doing Judaism. They didn't care because they don't believe in any of this nonsense anyway. We only believe in God, period. That's it. So, but he's going to test everybody. Just it doesn't mean they're aware of it. Psalm 17, you have put my heart to the test. You have visited by night. You have sifted me. And then it gets tighter. And then it gets tighter. Over and over and over again. Tighter and tighter and tighter. Until there's no imperfections. And you find, wow, nothing. Can you imagine being able to say that? You've put me to the test, God. You've sifted me over and over and over again. You know you found nothing, no impurities in that. You know you did. Can you imagine saying that? That's what David said. That's what David said. My intent is that my mouth doesn't offend you. Now we're back to the word bochen in these last three. Bochen, bochen, bochen. Jeremiah 11, but the Lord of hosts who judges righteously, who puts the feelings, that's the kidneys again, some translate it mind, some translate it feelings, and the heart to the test. God is going to test our feelings. Our feelings. Just because you have a feeling doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's real. It cannot be trusted. I remember years ago when we had the first congregation, I used to teach about you can have wrong feelings, and all the women, it's just, they would go nuts about that. No, you're wrong. And I said, no, the scriptures say you can have wrong feelings. Jeremiah 17, I, the Lord, assess. I give assessments on the heart. I test the kidneys. This life is a test. Remember, they still do it on the radio all the time. Randomly, they'll say, this is a test. This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. If this was a real emergency, you would be told what in the world to do, duck and cover, or whatever. So it's a test. It's a test. It's all a test. Everything that we do, everything that we go through, every reaction we have, every feeling we have, every thought we have, it's a test. And God is going to test it, what we're bringing to the table. Our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our actions, whatever we're bringing to the table, this is a test. And what I would say is it's going to happen way more often than you think. To the Jew, we're aware of it way more often than everybody else. Now, why does God do this? Why does God test our feelings and our emotions? What does it say? To give each person according to his ways. It has to be commensurate with the student. You can't just give everybody the same grade. You can't. Well, you could if you want to be stupid. But every single student is graded on their own merit, and they'll be rewarded according to that performance. Very good. And ideally, each one is given their own unique test. Now, it can be corporate, like what happened last October to the Jewish people. It can be worldwide. It's going to be worldwide in the birth pangs. 7 years of it. But we are going to be tested every day. To give each person according to his ways, according to the results of his deeds. Again, this is the word bochen. Now I'm going to kick it up a level. Now we got to kick it up a level. Why? Because there are verses that kick it up a level, and we can't ignore them. Is there any doubt that God is testing us? Any at all? I haven't left any cracks in the sidewalk? Okay. I've proven my dissertation that God tests us. I've also proven that God tests us a lot more than we think he does. Now, we're going to kick it up a level because Scripture does. We can test ourselves. Yeah? Well, should we? Oh my gosh, I didn't change this. This is supposed to say Hakreni. I'm sorry, I didn't change it. Hakreni el vada lavavi, b'chaneni el vada sarapai. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. Okay, that's hard enough to ask God to do. He's asking God to do that. Please test me, try me. That's what he's saying. This is Psalm 139. He's nuts. God, please bring trials and tests to me. Test me, search me, try me, and see if there's any wicked way in me. See if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in the derech olam. Urei im derech otzev bi, uncheni b'derech olam. See if there's any wicked. See, how is he going to see if there's any wicked way in me? the Petri dish. Stick you in there, provide for all the elements that go into the experiment, close your eyes, walk away, and then watch what happens. Come back, look what happened. Ooh. Okay. We can test ourselves. Search me, God. I mean, listen, I don't say this. I don't ever say this to God. I am not at this level. God, please try me. I know I'm right. Come on, search me. I don't do this. That's nuts. But we can. Search me, God, and know my heart. Put me to the test and know my anxious thoughts. This is almost exactly what David said in Psalm 139. And see if there's any hurtful way in me, lead me in the way everlasting. Bochen. Psalm 26, vindicate me, Lord, because I've walked in my integrity and I've trusted the Lord without wavering. We went through COVID and I didn't waver one single bit. I lost my job and I didn't waver one bit. Test me, check it. Examine me, Lord, and put me to the test. Refine, oh dear God, this person is nuts. This is David again. Put me to the test. Refine my kidneys and my heart. Yikes. It's the word bochen. Psalm 139. Search me, O God, and know my heart. This is nuts. It's in the New Testament too. Uh-oh. It's in the New Testament. It's in the New Testament. Come on. Come on. 2 Corinthians 13. Test yourself. Test yourself. How? 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 To see if you're in the faith. Examine yourself. Or don't you recognize yourselves that Yeshua the Messiah is in you? What does that have to do with testing me? It's the Petri dish. God did all the stuff. He set up the experiment. Now, you check it. Oh, I blew that. Well, you just stay over there, God. Stay out of the way. I need to deal with this. I can see it. I can see what I did wrong. That's what he's talking about. Okay, I've got Yeshua in me. I can see it. I can see it now. I can see where I messed up. I didn't respond like I believe this, that Yeshua the Messiah is in me. I didn't respond like that. Unless you fail the test. But expect that you will realize that we ourselves do not fail the test. Now, there's a lot of words. What's he quoting in the Old Testament, the Tanakh? That's the key. He's quoting, I believe, Lamentation 3:40. Which says, let's examine and search out our ways. Search ourselves. And let's return to the Lord. Nachpesa derechenu v'nachkora v'neshuva d'Adonai. That's what it says in Lamentation. And the verbs for testing and refining and examining is nachpesa and v'nachkora. That's what it says. Test yourself, examine yourself, and check and see if you're really in this thing or not. That's in Lamentation. Who wrote Lamentation? Jeremiah. In response to what? Babylon coming and destroying the temple and killing 1 million Jews. And in response to God killing 1 million Jews and exiling the rest of Judah, the answer, let's examine and search ourselves why. Why did that happen? This is how it always is. And I'm telling you right now, the next thing that's coming is going to be worse. It's going to be even worse. It's not the birth pangs. It is not the birth pangs. But it's leading up to the birth pangs. And it's going to be worse than the last thing that came. And we have to have this attitude. Why is this coming on us? Examine yourself. Check yourself. You really got Yeshua in there? Really? For real? Or just sometimes? Well, I don't know about you. For me, it's sometimes. It ain't all the time. It absolutely is not all the time. And I'm not talking about, I sinned for a while. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, I don't believe in this. I don't believe in God. God, why get off my back? It's like that. There's times I just don't even believe in God at all. I don't believe any of this fairy tales while I'm going through it. And then in hindsight, I'm like, God, get off my back. But he's not going to get off her back. Okay, I think I've stated my premise. I think I've repeated it enough times, I think. So this is what I would like to leave you with. You cannot walk away from this the same. You got to make a change. We have to make a change. Number one, I didn't talk about this at all during the teaching. Not at all. I did talk about this. We need to do more of Judaism. Would you say that that's a given? Yes? No? Okay. But this I didn't talk about. Please, please, please don't do more of Judaism without having the Judaism that you do talk to you. Because if it doesn't talk to you, you're right back in the frying pan. You're right back. He's still going to test you. He's still going to refine you, and you'll get nothing out of it. But if you're letting the Judaism that you do talk to you and teach you, it makes going through these tests and trials that we're going to go through, because there's no stopping them, understandable. So you can go, okay. I remember doing that part of Judaism. It gave me 2, 4, 6, 8. I know what's next. I get it. I know what's next. I'm okay. Yeah? Makes sense? So we're going to have to change. You're going to have to change the way you're thinking, and I'm saying you on purpose. You're going to have to change the way you're thinking in order to get to know God, unless you just don't want to get to know God. But if you do want to get to know God, I mean really get to know him, because I tell this to me, you must change the way you're thinking. You cannot keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect that you're going to know him. He's going to bring the test to you. That's gravity. Are you going to try to break gravity like everybody else does and go, I don't. That's not my God. My God is the God of love.
Believe in gravity.
My God is a God of love. I don't believe in that gravity nonsense. You don't know what love is. All right. I think I've made my point. Those of you who are watching this on YouTube, if you want to write messages, I'm going to ask you one thing in addition to what I asked earlier. Please, 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 don't give bumper stickers and memes and little signs that say, Christ is our sufficiency, or something like that. Because I get those, once in a great while. I'll get a meme or a bumper sticker or a little statement from the scriptures. That means nothing. It's feathers. It's nothing. In Judaism, you give your heart and you give 2, 4, 6, 8. Tell me what's next. Give me logical, understandable statements. If you don't understand, ask. I'm a rabbi. Ask the rabbi. Maybe I've got an answer to it, maybe I don't. But if I don't, I'll tell you I don't. I have no problem doing that. If I need to research, I will research. But don't give flip little, quote, Christian statements. Okay? This is on the Lev Tzion YouTube channel. I won't delete them at first. I'll respond to you. But if you don't respond back, I will then delete it. If it's just a flip statement, a bumper sticker, a meme, just some little statement grabbed out of the scriptures because you think it applies. Does that make sense? Is that fair? You guys tell me. Do you think that's fair for me to tell everybody online? Okay. Yes, these are the boundaries. These are the rules. Okie dokie. Let's pray. I think that's everything. Let's pray. Lord, I am convinced. You have convinced me, Lord, that you test us constantly. I don't want to say every moment because I'm afraid to, but you say it. And I know that you test me constantly, you test us constantly. I ask that you'd open our eyes to be aware of it so that we respond differently, so that we get faith, understanding the way Abraham had, enough to just give up absolutely everything, every promise you made to him. I want that kind of faith. I don't know that I want to pay the price to get to that kind of faith, but that's what you're asking for, so okay. I ask that you'd help me to learn how to examine myself, check myself, try myself, examine myself, sift myself, so that you don't have to do that as much. In the name of Yeshua. Thank you, Abba. Amen. Okay, Shabbat Shalom.